Today, on the early morning show,
White Knight Syndrome.
Years ago, a friend of mine told me, way back in the 90s, he said we beat our children for what we do ourselves. So that means if you curse all the time, you spank your children for cursing. If you drink all the time, you coach your children to drink and you spank them. If you smoke cigarettes, you get my point. Now, the thing about it is that when you rush in to defend this chick for something that you know is wrong, why didn't you call out her for the same thing you call out a guy for? Here's an example. Now, if a woman does a sexist slur line, we don't call it sexist. If a guy does it, we call it sexist. But when she does it, she's just speaking her mind. She's defending herself. And now, if she has a slight against a male, say she says something very negative against him, what do? You shouldn't say that about them. What, do you hate women or something like that? Now, clearly, when when a woman aggresses against a guy, we don't say, hey, what do you hate guys or something like that? Now, she says defensive threats. She says something like, I should have my boyfriend, brother, cousin, father, my step uncle's side, any dude to come beat you up. Or these guys online and threaten to come beat you up. Say anything about that. But if you make one comment about one supposed princess online, you get the full raft of dudes who's supposed to be for dudes. I mean, women are for women. What's our problem? Now, let me tell you why none of that defense really makes sense in 2023. Because when you run to defend a woman for something that you call a guy out for, that, my friend, is called a double standard. The men's channel, MNN, exists to call out all sorts of double standards. We're like the Bizarro of the Lifetime channel television for women. Any show that you can find on there, any pro or the female show, you're going to find a reverse on our side. So we're going to give you shows where guys did something wrong, but shows where women also did something wrong. We're going to give you shows where guys did something positive. You see, those other channels just paint men as negative. Now, let me go on here. Now, like I said, because this is a double standard. And years ago, back in the 90s, I coined a phrase. Because we all know in the continental United States, there are 4 time zones. This is excluding Hawaii time zone. But there are 4 time zones. You have the Eastern Standard Time Zone, you have the Mountain Time Zone, Central Time Zone, and the Pacific on the opposite coast, depending on where you live at. But I added a 5th one to that. And that's the Double Standard Time Zone. This time zone goes across all 50 states and Hawaii. That means no matter where you are on the street, online, if somebody says something that's wrong as a male, you call them out. But if somebody says something wrong as a female, maybe she did this, maybe it was her bad day, maybe somebody hurt her, maybe she didn't mean to do it, maybe you did something. See, society trains us in this country since elementary that you should run to defend women and young ladies. In year 2023, they got kids going to school now. They don't even need you no more. Us old people can get out of the way. They still run the same type game. So it's a double standard time. Anytime you could stand and argue online, out in the street, and you guys seen the videos on YouTube before where they do a test. The woman attacks a guy in public. People pretend like they got cataracts. I didn't see nothing. Did you see anything? But the same people, they joke and they have a guy hit a woman, and then they watch what really happens. Guys will run in and try to wear that guy out so he won't hurt her anymore. It's double standard. Double standard time exists in 50 states and Hawaii, really all around the world. But the maximum time that we try to sell equality, that's insanity. Let's move right along. Now, number 2, Brothers who are white knights for princess type attitude chicks usually fail to protect the queens in their own kingdom. Say again, brothers who rush in to save some princess who's unworthy usually fail to protect the queen in their own kingdom. So we're playing chess, she'd be the first one to die because you're out front protecting somebody else. You want an example? Now this means that 9 out of 10 times a guy protects a strange woman online or out there in the streets will fail to protect his own girlfriend, his own wife, his own mother, his own sister. You see, we only have a limited number of people that we can actually have true compassion for. So I notice, right? Because psychology is my whole life. So I noticed that any time that you can get a guy call somebody out online who does that, a guy who calls out another guy for saying something to a woman, you get a lot of guys, whether it be a men's group, a MGTOW group, or some other group, they'll call these guys simps in a heartbeat. And the reason that they do this is that these guys rush in to protect females, just like dictionary definition gave you, for the hopes or promise of something intimate or some sex. Now, like I said, each situation though, go to the house where these guys came from. If this guy has a wife, he wouldn't defend that woman sitting in the same damn room. Doesn't take care of his own home. If he has a girlfriend, he won't take care of her or whatever she has. Children, I don't care. If he has a mother, he'll give some little overnight sling of a woman more respect than he ever gave his mother. See, that's part of transference. I counsel for years. When a guy gives too much positive attention to a girlfriend or wife who doesn't deserve it, she's one step away from Section 8. That's transferring all the love that your mother ever gave you onto that person. Guys tell me all the time, I'm just trying to save her. You know, I'm trying to protect her. Like I told a guy a few weeks ago, I hear everything you're saying, but on your list of people you're protecting and looking out for, you're not on that list. You're not on your own protection list. What's up with that? So the next time somebody calls you out online about you protecting one particular woman, and they say that you shouldn't do that, just remind them, this is the type of guy, if he's married, that won't protect this woman. She's on her way out the door towards divorce. This is a guy who had a girlfriend, won't protect her. Somebody outside the home had to protect her. He's chasing other chicks. She's on her way out the door. This is a guy that never defended his own sister. You see? She's out the door. This is a guy who probably won't defend his own daughter, but he will a stranger online as a white knight for no reason, because he has this false compassion. You know, inside women need help, and male should defend them. Where's that written? Where's that written? Constitution? Okay, let's move right along. Let's go to number 3. Typically in a fairy tale, the princess welcomes the knight. She doesn't try to hurt him or cut him down. I guarantee you have never seen one of those fictitious Walt Disney movies, cartoon or real, read a magazine or book, or some other type video where the white knight or the knight goes in to save the princess and she stabs him when he gets there. She bitches him out when he gets there. You won't see that. But in real life, even online, when you go to defend that chick, when you tell those other guys online, I can't believe you said that about her. You know, what kind of man are you? Men are not supposed to act like this. What's wrong? You can't get laid? To me, it's like, what? Are you crazy? Who can't get laid in this country? Who? I've never had that type of problem. Now, to that, I would say some of these women who white knights defend online or in public turn on them, and in some cases, it costs them their lives. And I'm not joking. You go in public, get a little bit of coffee here. Say you go in public and you defend some chick out of the blue. She's arguing with her boyfriend. She might have started an argument or not. You don't know. You could even do this online. You end up getting killed by that guy because you operate off some kind of false compassion that you won't even give to your fellow brother. You won't defend anybody in your own household, in your current household where you are, or the household where you were raised in. Nobody. But you're going to go defend this one chick that you've seen actually start a fight with the guy. Even online. I told him where to go. He ain't no good. He's too small. He must be a wimp. All these kind of lines. That guy kills you. You know, on this channel, we do the program Killer Wives. And we're about 2 shows short of episode 50. And in just about 90% of those cases, and a vast majority of cases in America where wives kill their husbands, they always get some other guy to do it. The white knight syndrome. I just completed Killer Wives number 49. I'm sorry, number 48. And 48 involved a wife who groomed her ex-boyfriend so he could kill her current husband. And in all these cases, there's a pattern. In each and every case, if the woman can't defeat that guy, she'll poison him to make him weaker so she can kill him then, or she'll just flat out poison him to kill him. The ones that won't do that, they'll get the ex-boyfriend or somebody outside of the home to kill the guy for them. She don't want to get her hands dirty. I'll get blood on my hands. That way, if somebody has to take the fall, this guy takes the fall. She won't. So when you rush in to defend somebody, based purely because they sit down to pee instead of stand up to pee, you have lost your last fucking mind. Let's move right along. Like I said, all the Killer Wives cases I have, in a lot of cases in your neighborhood where some guy is in the ground now, shot by another guy because he rushed in to save somebody he should have never got involved in. Nobody gave you a license to do that. You want to do that? Go to your house to do it. If your mother's still alive, go defend her. Sister's still alive, go defend her. You got a daughter, defend her. You got a wife, defend her. Grandmother, defend her. You got your own women to defend. But a certain amount of people we could be actually compassionate towards. You can't be compassionate towards a whole gender of females. Actually, half of this planet today is females. Matter of fact, females outnumber men on the planet. At one time, it was just a 50-50. Now they actually outnumber men on the planet. And so it's not the job of one gender on the planet to protect the other gender on the planet. So actually, it's one half of the planet is designed to protect the other half. Now, that sounds fine and dandy, but if you can't override your mind, imagine the other side of the planet, that is females, don't see protecting men at all. Not physically protecting, not verbally protecting them against other assaults online, not emotionally protecting them by calling them names in the street, names online. If you lived in a home with your dad and your mom, and your mom was a negative woman, you watched her berate your father, probably every day of the week. You watched her slap your father, maybe kick your father, maybe abuse your father, and nobody said nothing when y'all walked out the front door. Now, if dad did that, we call him out. Double standard. Eastern Standard Time, Mountain Standard Time, Central Standard Time, Pacific Standard Time, double standard time. All right. Now, number 4, princesses usually don't go back to the dungeons that they were rescued from to start with. Now, every time in each show that we have, whether it's Killer Wives, Predator 101, She Crimes, you can name it. When you do go to save this certain type of entitled princess, and she's not somebody worth saving, she will always pull you down. And I'm pretty sure if you've heard of the phrase crabs in a barrel as a means of a group of people pulling each other down until you have nothing, this happens in this case. Now, if you got this woman by defending her from a lower means of life, and she has no intention of changing, you two will both return to that means of life. You see, this means that if you save one of these self-entitled princesses from a fate worse than Section 8. That she shouldn't do everything in her power to pull you down and make sure that she sleeps with every last friend of yours that you can find. So we aren't calling out this double standard negative behaviors. If we did, we wouldn't have this problem, but we do. Now, I say again, for those who are just joining us, let me give you the dictionary definition one more time for white knight. Dictionary.com explains the internet term slang as being a man who comes to the unsolicited aid. This chick doesn't even ask you to do it. Defense of a woman online. Now, they say he does this in the hopes of a romantic or sexual favor. Now, he's hoping that she'll drop something in the DM, She's hoping that she'll drop some money in hers. Now, white knight can also more generally refer to someone who rushes to the defense of another online, usually a person whose actions aren't seen as worthy of defense. And you see this a lot for political parties. I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican. Somebody says something stupid, we start going at it based upon which group you're in. But at least that's a group. It's not a gender. Today, you got more genders than you can name. Who's going to defend who? In the last Investigator 101 series that I did, which comes out here in a couple weeks, it was talking about how the Supreme Court took up just last year about women being drafted into the military. For the last 8 years, members of Congress on the Republican side, more than Democratic side, have been trying to get the women in the draft. Now, they can't get both parties to agree. Now, the draft means that if there's a war, that all males 18 years old to 35 years old must enlist in the military when called up. So what happens if you're an 18-year-old boy in this country? You must register for the draft. If you don't register for the draft, you lose college. The chance to get a college loan is backed up by the government. It can affect you, your career as far as jobs, that sort of thing. But you must register for the draft, and you register for the draft down at any post office that you can find. You walk right in there, they have a box of forms, you fill it out, you give it to the postal clerk. Then you're in a draft from 18 years old to about, some years they do 26 years old, some years they do 35, depending on if there's a war type situation. I joined the military before I turned 18. Way back in 1984, I didn't get the chance to sign up for the draft, wasn't thinking about it. And I was already at my first duty station when my first sergeant, I had to take a letter to him from the selective service. They said, why didn't I sign up for the draft? I thought, hey, I'm going to get in trouble for doing that. I showed it to him. He said, that's stupid. Don't listen to that. He said, you're in the military. How could it get you? So anyways, because Congress didn't do the job they were supposed to, in a Constitution that's almost 240 years strong, that the Supreme Court took it up a couple years ago, and they said that they were gonna pass that women in this country should be in the draft. Because they were looking at it in a constitutional matter. Originally, the Constitution, it says that able-bodied men are going to sign up to defend the country. So against your will, if you're a man, you have to defend your country. But in over 240 years, even through equality, women were not scheduled to sign up for the draft. Now, the Supreme Court inferred that it does not make sense for one half of the country to defend the other half of the country based solely upon gender. See, that's a classism type thing. That's sort of like if one color in the country had to protect another color. And the military was one time like that. Black troops couldn't fight to defend the country. They could serve as cooks and maids and that sort of thing. So the last bastion of breaking down the so-called walls of feminism for feminists would be to march in the streets so women could sign up for the draft. But they don't want that. And so what happens is the Supreme Court didn't move on that because Congress petitioned them heavily to send that complaint over to them, and they would make a ruling on that in the positive. Now, all the way up to today, and today is 2023, it's January, still in the first week of 2023, but Congress has still waffled on that decision to this day. The same Congress that tells you that both genders are equal. The Congress, the biggest white knight in history. Both genders are equal until it comes time for a war. Now, for those of you women out there who say that there should be no wars, hey, I agree. I was a combat veteran. I served in the Gulf War. On the way when the war was over, the helicopter I was in crashed. Could have died. Survived the war, almost died leaving. War is the only thing in history where you could prevent it up front. Even this current war overseas. It's the only thing in history where a country comes to you and says, I want you to sign right here. And there won't be a war. You can just do what we tell you to do. The other country says, we won't do it. I dare you. They get massively slaughtered. Kill about 100,000 people. That country says, where'd you say sign? Was it here? Or was it down another line? Where did you want me to sign it? And they sign that. 100,000 people are dead. Countries flattened out like a parking lot. For what? I do adamantly in my heart believe in defending this country. I would do that. You know, I'm not here on a free ride. But I would like for my counterpart to do the same thing. And until we get to that stage where men are not charged to rush in to defend women in the streets when they start fights, in the war to defend a woman overseas that I don't know. So the first thing Congress and the news media do is they show you how women are being affected in a war 8,000 miles away, and that a guy should rush over there to defend them. Remember, this is the biggest white knight Super Bowl in history. Not only can I not defend women in my community, in my home, I can skip over them and go save a few million women overseas. What sense does that make? If I can't defend women in my house, and I've been married for 36 years, my house comes first. I was a soldier in the military. I always tell my soldiers, family comes first. Any charity you're going to do, don't do it outside the home first. Do that in your home. A woman once told me many years ago, she says, Charles, whatever service you provide in the world, that is a service that's going to be missing from your home. And she's right. If outside of your house you have a lawn care business, guarantee your lawn's up 4 feet in the air. If you're a plumber, guarantee your pipes in the house are leaking. Bricklayer, okay, whatever it is, that's going to be the problem. And so for anybody out there who calls himself a white knight, rushing in to save women who couldn't give a damn whether you lived or not, take care of your home first. If you don't have a home with a family and some women, put yourself first. That ain't selfish. She's doing it. Young women are trained to take care of themselves first. Even when they marry you or date you, look out for themselves. We've been trained it as selfish if we look out for ourselves. There's that double standard again. If it's selfish that we look out for ourselves, why do we allow them to look out for themselves on our time? Does it make sense to you?
Nope.
Then we're done. So for the men's channel, we're going to close today. Make sure you leave your comments about this video. What do you think? Does this white knight thing make sense? Does it make sense to you? Until next time, for the men's channel, this is Charles Rivers. Have a great day.
My own world, living in 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 my own world. Oh, state of mind, California dreaming. Oh, state of mind, California scheming. Oh, state of mind, California is the reason. For this golden state of mind. breathing. What if you go to state of mind? Open mind and you'll find what you've been missing. Please don't waste my time and never try to tell me different. There I go again, ignoring my own advice. But take my word for it, man, I've been living nice. Like the bottom of some skis on a January morning. Up in Aspen sipping cocoa, I prefer my women foreign. Don't disturb me if I'm snoring, let me be. Cause you gotta get your rest to be a king. I would not expand your mind, girl, you too fine not to. Don't let me leave with someone that is not you.